702.
Family Matters.
You would think that it's a buzzword. Everyone else is talking about mental health these days. It's always been there. It's just that perhaps we have found appropriate terminology over the past years to really define this phenomenon that is taking place in our lives. Some people lose jobs and they go into a depressed mode for a certain amount of time, not feeling well. All of those issues contribute to how we show up at work, at home, and elsewhere. Earlier on, I was arguing that family is the biggest school of all times, and it's where we need to find comfort. It's where we need to find refuge. But that very same place can be a place where we receive so much criticism amongst those that we love the most. Those who are supposed to be protective of us can turn into enemies, especially when you have a mental health issue and you could be labeled, you could be stigmatized. Lawyer, and this, that, and the other. But there's thorough understanding that is needed around this issue of mental health. And I did mention that this family unit is very important, but if stigma exists inside a family where mental health is not addressed, a lot of people perhaps could stop attending family events, could stop interacting with extended relatives and so on, and want to be in their own space. So we're talking about mental health with family and friends where it can be a challenge, but it's an essential step in breaking the stigma that surrounds these conversations. Breaking the stigma around mental health begins at home by initiating conversations with family and friends. And these conversations are a foundation of a more open society where everyone feels somewhat safe to express their mental health needs. And how is mental health perceived in your family? I want to know from you. Please let us know. Is this something that you discuss at home when there is a function, family gathering, family picnic, or you're just sitting around dinner table watching TV? Does this feature in your conversations to find out where each of you are as far as mental health is concerned? Or do you overlook it? Do you go through depressed episodes on your own because your family will never ever get you? Please let us know and share those right now with us on 072 702 1702. Dr Tumi Mashego, clinical and sports psychologist, joins us as she will be guiding us gently along this journey of understanding mental health within a family setup. Dr. Mashego, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning to the listeners. Hope you're well, Thabo.
I'm chilled. I'm all the better for speaking to you because I have heard you before and I know that you are going to be a guiding hand on this seemingly simple but very profound matter of mental health, Doc. So let me just kick off. What is so often, why is it so often it's so difficult for families to talk openly about mental health issues compared to physical health? If my hand is aching, I can tell my family that, hey, my hand is not being okay. But if I've got mental health issues, it's so difficult for me to express that. Why is that the case, Doc?
Sadly, in 2025, we're still struggling with stigma. And it's not just societal stigma or familial stigma where people are, stigmatizing you for struggling with your mental health. It's also self-stigma where people who are diagnosed or who are meant to be diagnosed are so critical of self. They stigmatize themselves, and therefore it makes it difficult to also treat them or give them intervention because, unfortunately, or I don't know, with psychological issues, you need to be aware that you have a problem for you to benefit from the intervention. That's why, we talk about people with substance problems, that you just need to have the awareness that you have a problem, and you don't necessarily need to come sober. Just be aware that when you drink and when others drink, it doesn't impact you the same. So there's still really a long way to go, whereby we need to talk about the predisposition for mental health issues that is similar to someone predisposed to cancer and diabetes and cholesterol, right? You can have someone eating very well, but for whatever reason, genetic predisposition, they develop cholesterol. It's the same way with mental health illness, that me and you can go through similar things with control variables, yet one of us develops anxiety and the other one doesn't. So it's because I'm predisposed to it and you are not. So really, this conversation is something that we still need to have out there in society, but within families, but also to internalize it for our own self as well.
Could it be that our frame of reference when we speak into mental health is just insanity, clinical insanity, and nothing else? We do not necessarily understand various compartments that may be resident in that family of mental health.
Definitely, people, think they are crazy or deem themselves crazy or others crazy when, someone has, for example, does have an episode of mania, be it depression or whatever they present with. And also just because people feel like with mental health issues, we must snap out of it. I must quickly just snap out of it and get back to being ordinary. And I always say to people, but you are struggling, and usually there's brain chemistry involved. If you break a leg, you don't just go back to doing things like, going about your day. You literally go to the doctor and you get treatment. So it's the same way with trying to snap. It's almost like trying to push a car to Cape Town from, Polokwane, and it has no petrol. But you keep saying, I'll get there, and I keep pushing. Of course, you're not going to make it. And unfortunately, with mental health disorders, the impact is so severe the more you don't attend to it. So you progressively get worse.
Doc, let's take a few steps back, if you will. And we often make this assumption whenever we're speaking about these things, that we've got a common understanding or definition of these phenomena that we often refer to. And when we're speaking about, if you will, mental health, what are we speaking about exactly, so that we are all on the same page? I know it's a very broad question that may have an open-ended answer, but some of the characteristics that we could be referring to when we are saying that you've got mental health problems that a family needs to be aware of, what are we talking about?
So mental health is when we bring in things that happen in the ordinary day, meaning you get things like your anxiety, for example, whereby it runs on a continuum, meaning you can have someone have slight anxiety and they're able to overcome it, or maybe in the extreme sense, it's so extreme that they need intervention and sometimes medication. So when we talk about mental health, is someone being able to self-regulate, meaning if you are a little bit anxious or you struggle with some anxiety, you are able to regulate that emotion and get back to the norm. But if you struggle or you are predisposed to mental health disorders such as anxiety disorder, you are likely to struggle with, self-regulating self. And I think what makes it challenging is we're talking about day-to-day emotions. So, for example, you get someone who is sad, but that is very different from someone who is depressed. And I think it's also in our everyday language where you say, I'm a little bit sad. But someone who is depressed, they feel like they're in a dark hole. Even if you put the light on them, they will not see that light. And I always say to people that we need to look at healing holistically. So with mental health, the mind is so powerful that it will carry you and determine your reality, but you also just need to balance it with the body. But we don't usually balance or take care of the mind, and we end up struggling or being overwhelmed. Things that usually don't overwhelm us tend to overwhelm us if we are struggling with things like depression. So I think it's basically just someone struggling to be comfortable in their skin, struggling to, navigate life and becoming overwhelmed, right, by things that were not so overwhelming to other people or to themselves.
Dr. Tumi Mashego is my guest. She's clinical and sports psychologist. We're speaking about normalizing mental health conversations in families. It could be that you've experienced that in your own family. You'd like to share your view, or perhaps you just want to deposit an opinion and run away. That's also allowed. You can do so via a voice note that you can send to 072 702 1702 or a text message to that very same number. It could also be maybe that you want some answers from our guest. You are most welcome. I'm sure she'll be generous with that. Simply call us on 011 883 0702. It's 20 minutes after 11 o'clock.
why do you do what you do? They'll tell you, dog, when I was 3, this happened to me, so I'm angry. And no one is born angry, right?
Yeah.
So meaning the 3-year-old who was traumatized is now showing up in the 40-year-old who's killing people with no remorse. And it's not to excuse their behavior, it's just to understand how powerful, raw, unprocessed things of the subconscious are, and how they become your character. And you say things like they are like that, or unjalo. No one is born angry. Honestly, it's because of what happened to them, and maybe there was no opportunity for them to be given, to process those things, or they choose not to deal with it, because most of the personality disorders is a choice, right? Because you choose not to seek the help.
Sure.
For you to be okay. But yes, you do get things like depression. I don't think if we could choose things in this life, people would choose to struggle with depression. So when someone does struggle with it, we need to really pay attention to that. But as I said at the beginning, unfortunately, with psychological problems, if you don't see that you have a problem and need help, you will not benefit from the help. No one can force you into getting help, and no one can love you out of your depression. The onus is on you to do the work, which is not always easy. It takes courage to come see someone like me.
19 minutes to 12. Straight to your calls. Disemelo, thanks for calling us. You are in Melrose. Good morning.
Yes. Hi there, Thabo, and your guest. You know what? I just felt really, really compelled. I used to be one of those people, very cynical, have your whole life together. When someone is suffering with depression, like snap out of it.
Yeah.
Until my child was infected. There's nothing more painful. And, to be faced with the realization, this thing is real.
Yeah.
And so I just urge people just to have the grace, just because you have it figured out together. And also, even as a health coach myself, I'm into like healthy living, healthy this, healthy that, and all of that type of stuff. I have my life together, or at least I think I do. But I'm telling you, when your child is infected and there's nothing that you can do, and you can see their helplessness, and you are faced to confront, the reality of mental illness, it is really painful. So I think for me it is very, very important to be very aware and be involved also in your children's lives on a day-to-day. The only one thing, though, that I will mention, I think your guest has just mentioned, to say that people must confront and they must seek help. I am in a situation, I found myself in a situation whereby I had to make decisions for my child. They were not well enough to say, you know what, I need help. They were not. So very often, even therapists, they will tell you, I'm not going to call you, I'm not going to do that. But this helpless person that needs help getting up in the morning, they need help eating. They just need help going to the shower. And yes, it's easy for someone that has it together to say, you know what, I need help. There are instances where they don't even know that they need help. They don't even know how to do that. And so having people around, at least as a parent, I made it my business. I could see this person. This is the child that I brought up, who was happy, who was everything when I saw the change. And sometimes you just have to take over to a point where they can make decisions, for themselves, So I just want to tell you, mental health is real, and there's nothing more painful than observing your child go through, especially as a parent, when you think you've picked everything. Taking them to the best schools, you feed them better, you do that, but something just snaps. And you know what? Let us just be there for our loved ones. And just go the extra mile.
Before you go, if you don't mind, is your child in a better place now? Are you at least taking steps towards the greater help that your child needs?
You know what the saddest thing, Thabo, is? Medical aid does not even know.
Oh, man.
There is no higher plan. My child has been in an institution 28 days, medical aid, and no longer. And then we had to find ways, and we had to dig in deep, to get them additional help. But you know what? He's got me, and every single day, whoever it is, that is why I felt compelled to even call.
Yeah.
And every help that I can get him, from church, from whatever, I continue to do. But I realize I just have to be there right up until a point where he can really hold it together for himself.
Yeah.
Yes, he is getting help. Yes, he's on medication. And, I watch what he eats, what he consumes. Yeah. Not only physiologically also. We have to be very aware to say, what content is he consuming? What is feeding this? And you know what? Someone that has his future in front of him. I had to pull him out of university. He was not coping.
Yeah.
And so, but yes, he is getting help.
Yeah.
And I continue to research also, get more help. He's definitely,
Sure.
and we one of the very few, but by God's grace, every single day, I can see the slow progression, the slow movement, but it's a really, really difficult journey.
Yeah.
And I really, really, and you know what, and just one last comment. I was at a women's conference in the weekend, and there was a lady there, and I myself, I myself need help. So fortunately, I was introduced to people to say, listen, you're not alone. Here's a support group that is available.
Because who's helping the helper, right? As much as you are helping, you also need a little bit of help to keep motivated on this journey. Disemelo, I can't thank you enough for calling. It means the world to us. I wish you strength, I wish you wisdom, and I wish you favor that things may open up and become far better for you and your loved one under this very difficult condition. And I know that things will get better. You are in our thoughts and our sentiment. I'm glad that you called because you represent so many out there. And there's someone out there who felt accommodated by your call. And for your bravery, for your courage to pick up a phone. Thank you so much. Thanks to Semelo in Melrose. I'll ask Dr. Tumi perhaps to throw in a word or two.
It takes a lot to support someone who is struggling, and strength to Disemelo. And I'm also glad that she is seeking help, because I always say to people that when you watch your child or your partner or your family member who's no longer the same, it can take a toll on you. Right? Because you are watching them literally fade away sometimes. So it is important for the people around to also do check-ins for themselves so that they can cope. And also to just raise the point, the sad reality that, our health system as a whole fails when it comes to mental health support, because as she mentioned, medical aid runs out. There is still so much to be done. Even in the public sector, it is not in the state where it is, because if you cannot afford private health care, you almost are at the mercy of the few institutions that are there available, which is quite a sad reality in South Africa. So in that regard, I think you did talk about doctors who, where there's a crisis there, but there's also just a crisis when it comes to mental health hospitals that can accommodate people who need mental health intervention, both in the private and the public sector.
It's now 12 minutes to 12 o'clock. Selma is calling us from Roodepoort. Selma, hi.
Hello, Thabo.
Hi,
Thanks
morning.
for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
I would just like to add to that, 21 years ago, my, which is now late husband, was diagnosed with terminal grade 4 glioblastoma multiforme brain cancer.
I'm sorry about that.
As soon as that, and they said that, look, there's nothing much one can do for him. Anyway, afterwards we tried everything. But from the moment that I heard of this diagnosis, I started getting panic attacks. As soon as somebody just mentioned that, I suppose he hasn't got much time left, and I just feel like just flaking out, literally. My blood pressure just dropped. So I went to my doctor and I said to him, look, my husband can't drive after the brain operation, to remove the tumor, but the tumor obviously then just spreads. He got radiation, he got chemo, everything. Anyway, long story short, doctor said to me, oh, but what do you need? Can't you sleep? I said, oh no, at the end of the day, I'm so tired because I've now got to do all the driving, take the kid into the school, fetch him, whereas my husband used to take me in the morning. Anyway, so that, then he said, well, what do you actually want? Do you want the tranquilizer? I said, no, I have to be twice as alert and awake. But what do you want? I said, I want to cope with what's been thrown my way, this curveball. And he said, well, I'll give you SSRIs. They're selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It's a type of antidepressant.
Yes.
They're not addictive. And try them, but they take 21 days before there's enough buildup of it in your system. I promise you, that helped me to cope. It really helped me to cope. It didn't make me not grieve or make me feel very happy. It just helped me to cope.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to my husband's brain surgeon, this stuff actually helps to heal the synapses in the brain that was damaged by trauma.
Yeah.
You know that trauma can damage your brain?
I didn't
Well,
know. I didn't know.
Well, this apparently, these type of things like citalopram and escitalopram, that's type of things, they actually help to heal your brain.
Wow.
So, what I found is that if one has a lack of vitamins, that can also make you even more depressed, especially in older people, they have found with research.
Sure.
So, for anybody who's out there and is not on an antidepressant, you are doing yourself a great disservice.
Yeah. And
rather than think of suicide or anything like that, go to your doctor, get the damn stuff, go onto it, excuse my language, go onto it, and then it will really help you. Because I also went to a psychologist, because my boss said, no, you can go to a psychologist, should go to a psychologist anyway, and he recommended one to me that his family went after they were held up in their home.
We'll have to leave it at that, Selma, because I think you've given us some pearls of wisdom. I think also, Selma, we must also try to say, first consult a doctor, so that you know about the dosages and the kind of medication, because it may be a little bit too risky to diagnose people over the radio. But I'd say, together with that, go and consult a professional first before you take anything else. And that's just my 2 cents worth. 9 minutes to 12 o'clock. You are on 702, and my guest is Dr. Tumi Mashego. Doc, we're going to have a few minutes left. I don't know, before I go to the next call, if there's anything that you'd like to say, especially regarding what Selma had said.
I think just to re-emphasize what some of her points is that mental health disorders impact the brain chemistry. And that's why sometimes then someone with clinical depression will need to be referred to a psychiatrist who will then prescribe certain, antidepressants. That's what she was talking to. And when that happens, it's because there's something happening in the brain. And that's why I say to people all the time that you need to understand that I'm referring you there, not because, we're giving up. It's because the brain, the stress has led to, the dysfunction or the rewiring of your brain and problematic neurotransmitters. That's why you need this medication. And for some diagnoses, it's unfortunately for life. That's why acceptance is an ongoing thing for things like your schizophrenia, bipolar. But in situations like depression, it can be short-term depending on the context, but also that you can relapse. So meaning after you are finished with your treatment, just like cancer, you can go into remission, something can happen and you are stressed again, and you then relapse into the depression again. So I think, people need to understand that as well.
Great. Leshonolo, you're calling us from Katlehong. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bongani and your listeners. I'm Leshonolo. I'm calling on the side of the people who are, who've experienced depression. I was diagnosed with ADHD and MDD. And I find that I don't blame people, but I find that it's hard for us to try say something to somebody, and all they can say is, let's go pray about it. And you go to the public sector and say, okay, you're seeking up help, and then you know the story. They just can't. They'll just maybe give you some pills. There's no track in your progress as a person. But the most difficult thing, I believe, is that some of us know that, okay, you have a problem, and you are trying to articulate the problem. I don't believe that people should be making you a problem. You are trying to work with the problem, so that you can become a better person in society. And I think that's where, as the African society, we kind of lose it, because you don't really comprehend what is happening. You are suggesting from a point of not knowing what you think is happening. But if you actually understood the traumas that this person has gone through, or the failures that they've gone through, and the impact of that failure, you are able to make a better decision in how you can actually help that person. Some of us can't afford to pay, medical aids and stuff like that. But we still believe that there will be a day where you will be able to meet a person who understands you, so that you can do the reset button as you need to. We are willing. It's just we haven't figured out the how. So I was just speaking on the people saying that I know that people are saying that we try, look after our brothers and stuff like that. But even us, the ones that are experiencing this thing, it is very daunting. It is very frustrating because I never saw myself like this.
Yes.
I never saw myself like a failure.
Yeah.
I never saw my businesses failing. I didn't see any of this happening. So I'm trying to make means with what I have.
Yeah.
Just understanding is also medicine for us.
Yeah, I think you've said it all. Really appreciate your viewpoint. Thank you so much for that. I just want to go through some voice messages, not voice, but text messages that came through and try to cover as many as possible. Hi, Thabo, and guess my son and daughter-in-law are going through a very deep depression and isolate themselves. They also don't want any help from us. And it comes from Paul, and he says, we don't know what to do. And another one, when it comes to mental health, can it be a sort of class issue in the black community of South Africa, since there's been a considerable number of people in the community, such as middle class and rich class, that don't take mental health of the poor class as seriously as they should, and they, middle and rich class, only worried about themselves, such as workplaces. Hi, Thabo, is it possible that I can connect with health coach with her child? I also need support from her, please. And can you please tell us more about SADC, or how it's spelled? That's South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And their numbers, as far as I know, is 0800 567 567, 0800 567 567. But it's South African Depression and Anxiety Group. If you Google it, I'm sure you will get information. Few seconds left, Doc. How do people contact you? And your last word in just 10 seconds.
So the last word is just to say, when you get help for mental health intervention, it's about improving the quality of your life and managing the symptoms, and so that you can be a best version of yourself in spite of this. And it's ongoing acceptance that, I'm struggling with this. And as the previous caller indicated, it's not easy even for those diagnosed. It's an ongoing journey that one, falls upon, and it's quite hard and it takes courage. And I wished him the best. And I truly hope he finds someone he can actually, build rapport with, because there is help out there. It's not always easy, but I really, truly hope that he can find someone who can help him. And also another point is exercise is not replacement for therapy. Praying is not replacement for therapy. Yes, you can pray. Yes, you can exercise. It's good for you. It releases feel-good hormones, but it doesn't do what therapy does.
Certainly.
When you go for therapy, the different ball game altogether. They work hand in hand. Exercise is good. I recommend it, and praying.
We have to go, Doc. Your contact details. I'm flat out of time.
I'm at WhatsApp number 082-858-7033. On the socials at Dr Tumi _DSM, and my website is rebaonewellness.com.
Thank you so much, Dr Tumi Mashego, clinical and sports psychologist.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.